Alrighty, hey everyone. Today we have a very special guest, Anna Maria Raiko. She is the new astrologer with MTZ. Those of you who've already had a reading with her are familiar with her work very intimately, I would say, having her read your chart. She's very detailed, very intimate, very deep astrologer. But wanted to have her on, of course, and it's great for her to be here to get to know you all a little bit more, join the live stream, and answer some of your questions. So if you do have any questions for her, please let us know. We'll both probably answer your questions, but that'll give us some things to dive deep with. Well, Anna Maria, great for you to join us. How are you this Sunday? All right. All right. So what got you into, I don't know, what got you into astrology? I guess we could start there if you want to go back that far. How you're moon in Pisces. So were you very young or what was your, oh, actually, hang on one second. It says people can't hear you. I'm very sorry. Oh, that is because... Okay, so we do have to start over there because you were muted, Anna Maria. I'm very sorry. So you are now not muted, but...
okay, hi everyone.
All right, we have Anna Maria with us. So I'll just do that quick recap there. So Anna Maria is now officially the astrologer for Mastering the Zodiac. We wanted to have her on here in the live stream to get to know everyone a little bit, answer some of your questions. But it's great to have her here. We just talked a little bit about how she got started with what you're into in terms of astrology. Now I'm sort of asking her how she got into it. But just a little bit about yourself again, just to kind of recap there, Anna Maria. So you practice evolutionary astrology. And
okay, yes. I see and I understand life through astrology and through archetypes and mythology. And I work with through sidereal astrology, but the lens from which I view the chart is the lens of an evolutionary astrologer. That means I look especially at Pluto. This is the planet I'm beginning my chart reading with. And of course, looking at the nodes and discovering something new every time and introducing new elements in chart readings. And for the moment, I'm really into Lilith and Priapus to understand this axis better, and really into that deep shadow work, understanding the subconscious patterns we have, and understanding this love relationship we have with divinity and the divine and life. So in evolutionary astrology, we sense that dynamic inside of wanting to reunite with source, and the sense of I'm my own person. I don't know what divinity is doing right now, but I want to be myself. Explain easier. So it's this dynamic, like in Platonic philosophy or the Bhakti tradition, the love relationship between us and life and divinity. And in this relationship, we sense the blockages we have inside and the conflicts which reside in the unconscious, and don't let us live life more fully, because we have to understand those deep dynamics. And I'm looking especially at that dynamics in the natal chart. Okay, what is blocking you from achieving the thing that you desire? Because in my opinion, the universe is based on desire. So God wants to experience itself, and the universe wants to experience itself. This is desire.
Right, and so each individual wants to individuate as well. And so, would you say that the desire links up with the life, or that these can sometimes be at odds with each other? Is there ever this kind of a? I know you're saying there's a dance, but is there ever a difference between what one individual may want and what maybe life wants for the individual? Is that maybe where we feel some of these challenges?
Yeah. I think that sometimes we want things, especially if the shadow wants some things that maybe are not the best for us, or some parts of us which are really repressed, or Lilith, for example. If you look at Lilith in astrology, she wants some things for us, and we want those things to experience those things, but they come from a part of pain. So when we look at the mythology, Lilith was the first wife of Adam, and she was created equal with him, and she left the Garden of Eden not because that was her first desire to leave the garden, but she didn't want to be submissive to Adam, and she saw that there's no choice, so she had to leave. So when we look at Lilith, we see the things that we have to do because we don't want to be chained down, and the consequences thereafter. So some things we want in life, not because that's the true desire of our soul, but because life has put us in some situations in which we see that there is no choice for us but to take that direction, for example.
I see.
And if you look at Priapus, which is the axis of the Lilith Priapus, so the Lilith is the farthest point of the moon's orbit, and Priapus is the closest. And if we look at Priapus, which was a god of fertility, we see there a desire which is more truer to our essence and soul.
Right.
And I always look at them by looking at the moon as well, because they are the points of the moon's orbit. So I see them as a trinity. So if someone has a moon in Pisces, because we had a new moon in Pisces, they might be really prone towards idealization and being all poetic and romantic, but prone to this disillusionment and illusions and deceptions, hiding in alcohol or substance abuse because they can't bring that fantasy into reality.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at right now, Priapus in the sky, where are you, Priapus? So Lilith is in Virgo and Priapus is in Pisces. So Priapus wants that fantasy to become reality. But Lilith in Virgo would say, we're not ready, I'm not good enough, I'm not perfect enough to live that. How can I, a meek human being with all my mortality and pain and dirt, because Virgo is about purification. So
Yeah.
I'm not good enough to live that. Oh my God, there's too many things to manage. So
Right. And conflict with each
this
other.
this would
Yeah.
shortly be the dynamic.
So is it that
I went straight to Lilith and Priapus. Sorry, it's in my
No, that's
mind over
great.
here. So
No, that's
they
great.
wanted to
Everyone in the
come up.
chat is really loving it. No, it's really good. So would you say then that like every planet in the chart is trying to express itself in that alignment, and that it's like there's a free will difference? Is that it? Like let's say if I was living my chart like in the way that, let's say in the best way possible, let's just say, does that mean, according to evolutionary astrology, that I am in alignment to that that life path or that life energy, and that whenever my free will or parts of myself aren't living in that balanced way of those planets or in that healthy way of the planet, is that when there's a misalignment? Where does that misalignment like come in? Or is it the chart itself? Yeah.
I think that there's no such thing as misalignment somehow, because there are more steps in evolution, no? So someone with a certain dynamic in the chart, maybe in a not so developed evolutionary state. So they might be your regular Joe, which works, I don't know, doesn't have, he doesn't sense it has a really life hero's journey. So but the archetypes play out themselves nonetheless. So there's no such thing as misalignment because the archetypes play out. So our life mission is always unfolding. And if we don't do all of the desires, and we really, and I'm a person of many desires, so I don't think I will be able to do all of them this life. But I'm sure in the next life, the things will continue. So, and I see evolution just the same. So we're not really out of alignment, never, as long as we live and we're a part of divinity and the creator. There's no such thing as being outside of it. But there is that difference in which we live. Not always. We don't take always the most pleasant road, no, towards really living up to the potential of the natal chart.
So there's like,
But
so
that's
there's,
life.
right. So there's a multitude of different, so is what you're saying in a different perspective, that there's a multitude of different ways of going about your path and aligning to these desires and stuff. Sometimes maybe it might take longer than other times. We might get stuck for longer. Maybe a whole lifetime is very much stuck or not progressing towards that evolution. But it's all still evolving and it's all still growing no matter what. And there's no real stagnation because there's always some growth, even if it's a very small growth. Is that the evolutionary?
Yes. In my opinion, yes, there are some astrologers or people in this domain which say that there may be instances in which the soul devolves, but I personally I do not think that such thing exists, because after this life, if we read Roman mythology or Greek mythology, we know that after living this life as mortals, when we are on the boat with Charon, so the ferryman of Pluto, he tells us what's up. So we have to give up all of our false identities and all the stuff which is not us. So in that space between one life and the other, or another experience which we have after this life, there are guides or God, somehow something, and we ourselves figure out some things. So the next step will be done in a greater consciousness somehow.
I see. So is that why
And
you, sorry, yeah.
yeah,
Is that why you focus a lot on Pluto, or most evolutionary astrologers focus on Pluto? Is it because it's that transition point from one to the next, like that? One evolutionary step?
Pluto represents the self, the soul, the thing which incarnates, so that divine spark in us. This is how I view Pluto. And also we see some parts of the shadow there, but also our desires, what we really want. And in evolutionary astrology, uh, when I look at a person's Pluto placement, I can see where they come from, especially if we look at the South Node and Pluto. Okay, what's the dynamic? What was the personality dynamic which the person has? And when we look at the Pluto polarities point, so we look at Pluto in the opposite zodiac sign and the house. When we look at Pluto's polarity point, we see the soul's next step. So, for example, if we have Pluto in Scorpio or Libra, for example, a person may be really open towards relationships and wants to feel itself in a social setting and wants to belong either to a person or a greater group, but wants to belong and is used to doing all the pleasantries for it to be liked. And there's a lot of codependency. But the Pluto polarity point from Libra would be Aries. So really stepping up and saying, what's their desire besides the relationship they're in, or the family environment. So really that individualizing aspect would be the Pluto polarity point in Aries. And if we look at all the zodiacal signs, we can see the evolutionary dynamic of the soul when we look at Pluto and the North Node, Pluto's polarity point and the North Node.
Okay.
So it's a tango.
So you're reading Pluto as also the past energy,
Yes.
and even in many ways the future energy, right? In the sense of what we're here to actualize with Pluto. And it seems like you're reading all of the planets like needs in the chart. Is that an accurate way of describing your method? Like each of these planets it has a particular need of the self that we're trying to actualize and grow?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Very interesting. All right, cool. Because it's a very, evolutionary is a very distinct perspective, and it's very interesting to.
And I added my own. So I first began by studying Jeffrey Wolf Green and Stephen Forrest, and made some courses at Kim Murray's school. But I added somehow my own, the way I felt it. So not all the information
like
might be true to
right.
Jeffrey Wolf Green's books. So because I don't see it, they really put the emphasis on past lives and the trauma from past lives, or doing meditations or soul retrievals. But I don't see the past life as so important, because the archetypes are there. It doesn't matter if one was it doesn't matter what happened. The archetypes speak for themselves, and the dynamic and all life is here right now. And this is the purpose.
And that's what matters, right? It's
now, yes,
right.
The present, and really uncovering that free will, because I think that free will is something which is worked towards. So we don't have, in my opinion, free will from the get-go. Okay, I'm born and
really,
here's your free will, Anna Maria, you can go. No, I think that free will comes after one knows itself and knows how to make different choices than the ones which are somehow programmed.
Interesting.
So, for example, the new moon. The moon now is in Pisces. Let's think of a woman which is an artist. She's a painter, and she sees and understands love, because we understand love through the archetype of the moon, and she wants to create. If she doesn't feel that inspiration all the time, maybe if she's not high somehow all the time in ecstasy and fantasy, she might turn towards pills or substances so she can get her kick. Okay. But the free will comes when she understands that inspiration is always here. So you can go a bit towards that Virgo polarity. And of course, the sun is important. So, but if she wants to be a well-renowned artist, and she wants to create art, and she doesn't want to always just go with the flow and leave herself at the mercy of life somehow, she has to step up from that moon in Pisces, because there's some shadow there. So there's always some shadow when we look at the moon. And the free will would be when she's understand that her health is important, that she doesn't want to drink so much alcohol anymore, for example. Because if she wants to create, has to be a clear channel, no?
The Virgo.
And she purposefully attunes her mind and body and spirit and soul for being a vessel for that art, for example.
Interesting.
So
okay.
when we look at our shadows and understand them, we can really unblock that the free will, and that's when we really start to evolve, and life gets a bit more challenging, because we're always put in front of some choices,
Mm-hmm.
and the shadow or parts of us want the easier
Yeah.
road, even if it's painful.
Right. So it seems like every planet then has its sort of predetermined energy, or whatever you want to call it, this sort of non-free will piece, the
Yes.
predetermined thing. But then that every planet, as we sort of experience that, we then have we then start to bring in free will. We then have more choices, and in a way, then astrology then helps us become more aware of what healthy choices we have in a way, or how to evolve the soul, obviously. But here you're bringing in like the polarities, for example. So like Virgo is helping Pisces evolve and grow, right? Like this,
Yes. Yes. And
and
be here in on Earth.
yeah. And that every individual could just live their birth chart just completely non-free will. They would do the Pisces
Of course.
thing as this the programmed, as you said, the pre-programmed route. We could do the Virgo thing as a pre-programmed route. So at what point, this might be a tough question, but like at what point do we start to become aware of that free will, or like what is it that the individual can do? Is it self-awareness? Is it self-identity? What creates
Self-awareness,
that
of course.
self-awareness? And that's why things like astrology and
Self-awareness.
stuff can help us exercise more free will.
Tremendously.
Okay.
Tremendously. I think astrology is the biggest key which
Hmm.
we have towards unlocking anything we want in
Hmm.
life and knowing ourselves better. And I've studied many philosophical and spiritual mysteries and studies, and I think that astrology is really a gift from the gods
Hmm.
for us. So
Yeah. And that expression, like know thyself, it's like it really is something that could arguably be the most important thing in terms of our growth. Well, that's really
most
interesting.
important thing.
Most important, yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's very interesting. So in my mind, to kind of synopsis this, to kind of look at this from the big picture, we have a chart that's showing what the potential is for the evolution of the soul, right? And each of the planetary placements, or any placement, is showing both the sort of, let's say, programs you can fall into, but also the opportunities for free will and thus growth and development of the soul. So that's how you're reading the chart then, and you're going in, you're saying, okay, here's kind of your, do you do it like that? Like here's kind of your default patterns, or your unconscious or your programmed stuff, and here's the stuff that,
Yes, sort of. Mhm.
sort of like that.
Mhm.
How would you classify it generally? So you go to Pluto. What do you look at? What do you look at exactly with Pluto?
I look at the archetypes. So now we have Pluto in Capricorn. Interesting. So I've met Pluto in my life by his transit to my Venus for uh, a much longer time than I needed, in my opinion. Uh, Pluto in Capricorn is uh, is the boss. So he's been to hell and back. So he knows every corner from the deepest part of the sea, no, because the Capricorn is the symbol is the sea goat. So it's a very profound archetype. Really has great depth to it. And a Capricorn can really climb the highest mountain and really be the master. So Capricorn is the master. And Pluto in Capricorn wants us to be the masters of our own life and to create that golden age of Saturn, no, because Saturn rules Capricorn, which we've talked about, and really can help us in creating that life. So with all this Pisces energy and Pluto being in Capricorn, I think it's really important that Pluto is in Capricorn right now,
Mm.
because it can really ground us and
Mm-hmm.
remember us what's important here on Earth and how we can create the life we want here. And it doesn't let us to be too much in our heads and in illusion and in fantasy and in really grounding ourselves. And of course, there's some tough love with Capricorn. There's tough love with Pluto, but Pluto was a really fair god, so he was fair in how he dealt with humans and how he understood a human's life here on Earth. And sometimes he really took care of the people which were in truth and aligned with themselves, who were in their integrity. And integrity is really important for Capricorn. So Pluto now in Capricorn teaches us integrity. And integrity is a consequence of free will, it might somehow, because we really have to work when we make our choices and when we go about our day to make the choices that are really in integrity with ourselves. So Pluto and Capricorn really teaches us to master ourselves and to be true to ourselves. And he really it says that Saturn rewards us, but Pluto also rewards us with the life we want, and also we don't have to stay much in the underworld after that. So
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah, totally. And that's really the case for all the outer planets, right? It's like they all want us to, do something. Well, the way you're describing all the planets, it sounds like it's almost like all the planets want us to do something. So it's almost like you go to the sun, you're like, the sun wants you to do this. And that's like would you say that that's like how do you see the planets themselves? Are they a part of us? So like, is the sun part of us wanting something?
This is how I started to learn astrology. I was sitting in a night and I was wondering, oh my God, do I feel the planets in me? And I started to like, oh my God. And after that, I really meditated upon this subject and I said, okay, I'm learning astrology now, no matter what. And I think that the planets represent archetypes, and the archetypes represent planets, but they're more archetypes than planets. So uh, somehow these archetypes are in us. We are made from the same stuff in the universe. No, okay, maybe a planet has more substance than us humans, but we're made out of the same ingredients, and in these ingredients form archetypes. The planets are more we see them and we understand them more clearly. Okay, when I look at the sky and I see that there's a sun, there's a star, and it's called the sun, and the sun has this archetype, and the sun represents our hero's journey in life. We understand when we look at the chart. Okay, so I am the sun. I am becoming the sun in my life. I am becoming the sun. I am becoming my hero and the hero of my life. And in this way, all the planets, when I look at them, I see them as archetypes. And yes, they are moving in us. These archetypes, we are formed by them, through them. We live somehow through them, and we make the same decisions that when we read mythology, which they did. So we have the same. We want to start a war like Venus did. So when in the Trojan uh,
Trojan
story.
Wars. Yeah.
So she wanted to be acknowledged as the prettiest goddess, no? And the goddesses like there was Hera and Artemis. Each goddess really wanted to play somehow with Paris and manipulate him so he can choose them. So even the gods didn't play some all the time fairly. And you see the humanness somehow in God and in this universe, that it's evolving, it's not perfect. So when we leave our chart, of course, we don't, it doesn't matter the aspect a planet has. It has some, that archetype, it has some imperfections because the universe experiences itself, no? And it evolves all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so are the archetypes which live in us, and we understand them through astrology and literature, mythology.
What's the us? Because because I look at the chart, I'm like, okay, I see it as like, okay, there's different parts of the self, and maybe the self
Yeah,
is like the whole thing and the whole zodiac and everything. But
yes.
what's so interesting about what you're saying is that it's almost like, I don't want to say it's separate, but in a way it's like the me is separate from these archetypes. So then how would you describe the me in this situation, or the us, as you were saying? What is that
Well,
exactly? It's just consciousness?
the me, yeah,
Just pure consciousness.
consciousness,
Just pure
pure
consciousness.
consciousness.
And we're here on earth, we're experiencing it through these archetypes. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Is it all the
Mm-hmm.
archetypes? I mean, like, is astrology showing us all the archetypes that we embody? Or, I mean, I know I'm getting really philosophical now, but
I think that for understanding life, I think if we begin with astrological archetypes, it's plenty of work
it's
there.
already enough.
And but yeah, but there are more. There are more feminine
Yeah.
archetypes than the Moon, Venus, Lilith, and even Vesta or Juno or other asteroids. So there are more archetypes, but somehow they enter. So these are, in my opinion, the biggest ones, and there are ramifications of each. I don't know all the archetypes, and
Right, right. No,
so
yeah, but it's like the astrology. I mean, would you say that technically, if we had plotted all the asteroids, we had plotted all the comets, we plotted everything, do you, just philosophically speaking, do you think that
okay.
all of the possible archetypes of life can be expressed through astrology? Or,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes.
So that's the kind of as without, so within, as within, so without. Whatever's going on here, we'll see it. At least there's a way to see it somewhere out there in the outer
Of
world.
course, because everything is one. So
Yeah.
we're all moving. We are, us and the planets. We move in the same pace
Yeah.
somehow. So I mean, the essence of it. Okay,
Yeah.
the essence of it. It's everything is one, and it's always moving.
Yeah. And so why is the sun so large, and why is the moon so large? Like why are certain archetypes so prominent than others? Is there like
Because they mean life
they made life?
for us.
Is that what you
Yes,
said?
and also they mean life. Maybe other species of aliens though are not really, don't really need the moon for them to live, but for us,
Interesting.
the moon is everything. The moon. That's why even during our lifetimes, we don't always get to live our hero's journey, which is the sun, but we always live our moon,
Hmm.
because the moon is the cyclical part, which is really linked to life here on Earth. And we always live the moon. The moon is our mother. It means how we first understood love. It's it's the part of us that really wants to be taken care of, or to take care of others, the part that wants to be held and belong to a group. To it has the it's all about life here on Earth, the
Mm-hmm.
moon
Yeah.
somehow.
So these.
And many people don't go towards their hero's journey because they're afraid. And if we read stories about hero's journey, we know that there are some difficulties uh, when we start that journey. So we
Yeah.
have to fight
Yeah.
monsters, and
You can
to get
get.
an elixir or potion or the princess.
Yeah,
So
but you can
there's
get
always
burns.
something to do.
Yeah, you get burned
Burns.
like Apollo or whatever. Yeah, it's very serious.
Yeah.
Very cool. So it's fascinating perspective. So these planets, the sun, moon, had literally shaped us. They've created us, right? In a way, our
They
whole
mean
perspective, no?
that we exist. We exist.
But because
Somehow,
it's the
like,
sun and the moon, but it sounds like what you're saying is because, like, let's just say that's because that's where Earth is, has the sun and the moon. And we now have these dominant sun archetypes. We now have these dominant moon archetypes, but that's because the sun and moon made that so. And so in a way, the sun and moon created our consciousness, or at least shaped it.
Yes.
At least shaped it. Maybe not created it, but shaped it.
Shaped it.
Maybe on an alien planet with two suns, each would be shaping it in different ways. But here we have the sun and moon. Fascinating. That's so cool. All right. So I'm going to go through here and just see if there's any questions before we wrap up here. But let's check in with everybody. So everyone says hi. All right. Yeah, the Lilith descriptions were great. Thank you, Have Bliss. So Have Bliss says, Lilith is close to my first house, and my nickname is Lila. Well, that's interesting. So while I read these, how would you, for Have Bliss, how would you read Lilith in the first house? What would that be like?
So she's in the first house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, she identifies herself, no? Hence the nickname. And life is really asking of her to understand Lilith. So why do you run from others? Probably Priapus is in the 7th. So you want to belong to another, you want to be there for another. So I mean, this would be the core desire to be close to the other and to understand that Libra archetype of the 7th house. But because because Priapus indicates some type of trauma in accomplishing what we want. Lilith runs at the first house and says, "No, I'm taking care of me. I don't want all of you right here, right now, because I need space. I need to know myself. I need to be aware that I am me. But this might mean that she tends to hide from others and to put on a facade, like a mask. That no, I'm here. Lilith, she went when she went from the Garden of Eden. She lived by the Red Sea in some caves. So it's like, I'm here. Everyone can see me, but somehow the doors are closed. So it's like being an island amongst people and life. Somehow this is what came up right now. But really, there really gives energy for her to individuate, to really know herself, to be ambitious, to be driven, to be courageous. Because one has to have courage for one to open itself up in the 7th house, no? So she needed to get that courage, which comes from self-knowledge and really understanding the first house. Because we leave our first house, we don't understand it so mentally, no?
Right. Yeah.
And maybe going to the body and taking care of the body and understanding life through the lens of the body and of that Aries impulse. Hear me roar. I am here. I will make some noise. I don't know what does she say. Does she say that it resonates somehow?
Oh yeah, let us know, Have Bliss. Yeah, if that
What's
resonates.
Your opinion?
Well, she said it was close to the first, so I don't know if it was in the 12th or the first, but I wanted to hear your take on a Lilith interpretation. That's why I said that. But yeah, let us know there, Have Bliss. But I find it fascinating that you use the opposition so much, because like I try to do that as much as possible. I see it as like we're trying to balance the planet's energy. But is that something you almost always do? Look at the opposite place, the opposite house, or the opposite sign, and see how
in
that
everything in life.
and everything, right?
In
Okay.
everything in life. Mhm.
That's great. So another question: do you ever use charts of the parents and grandparents to see if there are correlations? That's from MS. Thank you, MS. Yeah.
Of course, and I can, if the client wants it, of course. And we also see a lot of information from the fourth house, the 10th house rulers, and the sun and the moon, and we see the dynamic of the maternal and paternal line. So, but I've studied charts of the great grandparents and the elders from the family, and we see, of course, we see the same dynamic playing. Every family line has some archetypes which are more important than others, and they play out that story in the game until one member of the family really understands it. It's because in my from what I've understood and learned, when we incarnate in a family, we are drawn, maybe we know the members of the family, but we are drawn towards them because we have many things in common. So it's like magnet, and we really share the themes of the family. And of course, it's a very fascinating subject, this, and I work with the charts
And that's
of the family members.
because that's obviously fits with the evolution, right? Because there's the evolution of the family, or
Of
the
course,
genetic tree.
and if you look at it this way, we don't see ourselves as the most important thing in the world. We see that we are a piece in a story which unfolds itself. So there's our story, my personal story, but there's also the story of the family, and the family has some desires and voices, which uh, us as the present factor of the family, which lives life and accomplishes things. We accomplish things for us as well, but also for our family and for our lineage.
I see. Yeah, that's really fascinating. So Poodle Meat, thanks for joining. I haven't seen your name before. Thanks for joining. Can you speak about Chiron in the houses? But I'm going to simplify that and just say, how does Chiron show up in an evolutionary chart or in the way that you read charts?
Mm-hmm.
How do you see Chiron?
When I look at Chiron, I look, of course, at first at the pain and at the trauma. So Chiron represents some kind of trauma. And first of all, I see the trauma of rejection, because Chiron was rejected at the birth. So where we have placed Chiron in the natal chart, we see firstly the wound of rejection. So we're afraid of being rejected in that area, afraid of being abandoned. It's a really vulnerable thing in a natal chart. So Priapus has some pain as well, but I see Chiron as the most vulnerable archetype in the natal chart. Like where we have Chiron, the pain is so big that it's really it's a heavy process of alchemy and of power to really transform that sensitive part of our chart.
Yeah,
But there is tremendous power there to
yeah,
to become the medicine man. I
yeah,
I call Chiron the medicine man. So when we really understand that and alchemize our trauma in that area, or pain or fears, we really become ourselves the medicine
yeah.
for ourselves and others close to us.
So do you recommend doing the Chiron thing anyways? Because I know it's like there's so much wounding there, like for me, Chiron in the 11th, like, doing group stuff and all this, whatever. It's like, should I do it anyways? Like in the face of those wounds? How would you recommend someone heal with
Yes.
that, or try to heal with the Chiron, or evolve it?
Well, there's the fear of rejection of when we look at the 11th house or the Aquarian archetype, we think of Prometheus, which was severely punished because he stole the fire from the gods and gave it to humans. So the 11th house, great ideas, ideas, revolutionary mind. We can do great things if we have important placements in Aquarius or the 11th house. But there's always the fear, and Uranus also stands for this fear of being rejected, ridiculed, of being severely punished for living out our ideals, like Prometheus was. No, so Chiron in the 11th is, what will people say of me if I don't belong? I don't belong to the world. I'm
Mm.
doing my.
Mm.
I don't want to go there, but they there might be some, and if the chart has some other indicators that maybe a north node in the 10th or 11th or even in the 7th house, like opening up towards life, then yes, work with that Chiron. Anyways, Chiron will work with us even if you don't want to work with them, because
Mm.
that fear will always come up.
Right.
So our relationship with Chiron is like a slow dance. So really, really getting in touch with that sensitive part of ourselves that is really scared and afraid. And
Yeah. Yeah.
Chiron is a great indicator of sacrifice. So also, so
Yeah.
look at that in the area of the chart.
Yeah. That's how. That's a very very deep, very accurate way of describing it as far as I've experienced Chiron. All right. Well, last question that just kind of segues into wrapping up here. So Randy is asking if you have a YouTube channel, but just so everyone knows, Anna Maria is now part of Mastering the Zodiac. So she's part of this YouTube channel. She's going to start making some videos. So if you have any suggestions, any ideas, anything you want her to talk about for a video, put it in the chat here, or you can always send her an email too. She's at annamaria@masteringthezodiac.com. And Gabriella, if you could you repost the discount link, both her bio and the discount link that I first posted at the very top of the chat here in the live stream, so everyone can check her out. So that'll be her bio, and then also, of course, the discount that everyone in the community gets if you do want a reading from Anna Maria. But that was a great conversation. We'll, of course, have you back on. Everyone stay tuned for her YouTube videos. Anything you want to close with, or any last comments before we close out?
I'm happy to be here, happy to live out my hero's journey, and waiting for your suggestions regarding videos. And see you later. Can't wait to talk more about the fascinating world of archetypes and astrology.
Yeah, it really is fascinating. All right, everyone. Well, have a great one. Have a great Sunday, and I'll see you all next time. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.